welcome to WNBL iTV. Darren Boyd here with you once again. And once more, we've just had a thrilling weekend of WNBL results. Some big winners, in particular the Townsville Fire with a couple of victories, both of them on the road. Sensational efforts from them. And some big losers. The Dandenong Rangers, unfortunately, plummeted to a couple of losses as well. We're going to dissect all of that as well as look ahead to what's happening over the Christmas break and also back in the new year. And with Laurie Chiswick still just, well, she's probably not sunning herself over in Canada. She's probably just staving off the cold. And Catherine Murphy doing similar things over in Europe. Cheryl Chambers is back with me. Cheryl, thanks for coming along.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, the season is so delicately poised. I mean, we've been saying this all week. I feel like a broken record. We've been saying it all week and all year. But at the moment, we've still got 8 clubs that would genuinely think they're a chance at the finals. Can you remember a season like this?
No, I think it is, as I said last week, it's an absolutely fantastic season. I mean, there's quality players, quality basketball, and it's really quite exciting. It
is, and there was no exception again last weekend. Unfortunately, have a look at our ABC game of the week. We'll start off with that, Logan and Townsville. Now, unfortunately, this wasn't the greatest game I've ever seen, I have to say. It was a thrilling finish. Logan got back to within 1 point in the last quarter, but they had trailed by 26 points. And you sort of, you hear that and you think, wow, what a game. But it just didn't seem to reach any great heights. It was one of those games that neither team really played well at the same time as each other. Townsville played brilliantly, got out to that lead, then Logan came streaking back, and then at the end Townsville were just able to execute. But a huge win. You know, I mean, how difficult it is to go into, starting off that first weekend of the road trip, first game of the road trip, Townsville were just so desperate to get that win, and it just gives the team a real momentum boost.
Yeah, definitely, and you'll see that, down the track they go to Sydney and win that game as well. Yeah. So it's a huge weekend for Townsville, and, probably one of those wins that will cement them in the finals, I think, down the track.
Kayla Francis for Logan had 20 and 13. She was their best performer. But I suppose the thing that's, we've been speaking about it all year again with Townsville, the evenness. Michaela Cox and Jess Foley and Rachel Flanagan, they all contributed in their own way. Have you seen a particular strength in the Townsville side?
Look, I think their strength is that they've got a lot of experience. As you say, you mentioned those names, and those names at any stage could win a game for you. So I think that's a strength. If they get a few injuries, I worry about their depth a little bit, but certainly, they've got some quality, experienced players there.
Well, the player that we judged as the MVP for the game was Shanavia Dowdell from the Townsville Fire, and here she is with Rachel Spawn after the match.
Shanavia, that was just an amazing comeback by Logan. You must be a little bit worried there for a while.
Yeah, I have to tell the truth. For a couple of plays, I was just holding my breath. I was so nervous, but we pulled through, and I'm glad we did.
And it must have been very frustrating for you sitting on 4 fouls. You still feel helpless on the bench. You just want to be out there.
Yes, it's so nerve-wracking. I was so nervous. I like to be involved, and I like to be on the floor, and it was just hard sitting over there watching. But Ellie Minucci stepped up and did what she needed to do while I was out.
And did you still think some complacency came into the third quarter because you were 26 points up, obviously thinking, oh, yes, that's a match-winning lead. Some complacency there?
Yes, we discuss that all the time. Like, when we get a lead, we sometimes seem to get comfortable, but we need to get the killer instinct. When we get up by, get a good lead, we need to keep the lead and keep going at them instead of getting complacent and getting comfortable with that lead.
And is consistency something that you still need to work on as a group? Because you have some quarters where you're absolutely amazing and then some mental lapses cost you dearly.
Definitely. We really have to work on consistency. As you just saw, we started off great, but then in the third quarter coming out of halftime, we kind of fell off a little bit. So Coach tells us all the time we need to work on consistency, and it's definitely something that we will have to continue to make progress at.
She did play a fantastic game. Shanavia Dowdell, the MVP from Friday night's win in Logan. And not only that, Cheryl, but she was the WNBL Player of the Week. She had 15 points and 10 rebounds in the game at Logan, and then 26 and 13 in their win over Sydney. Pretty impressive numbers.
Yeah, that's a quality import. I mean, throughout the years, when I was playing, there were some imports that turned up in Australia and ended up going back on the plane because they'd shrunk or whatever. But now we're certainly getting some quality imports. Amy Denson, and there's some quality imports in the league now, which is great.
Now, Shanavia, her specific skill seems to be just shooting the ball incredibly well. This season she's just a tick under 60% from the field, and in the win over Sydney, I'll just check the numbers. She was 10 of 11 from the field as well. And above 80% as a free throw shooter. She was asked during the week, what's your secret? She just said, it's just hard work.
Well, and I think you're right. I think, you know, those people that can shoot the ball really well just practice and practice. And so, you know, she's probably right. You've got to get a good technique first, but then, you know, I guess you just got to practice.
And Chris Lucas, I spoke to him during the week, and he just said he's been thrilled with her, and probably he said he's really proud of the way the groups come together, and he says that it's one of the best groups in terms of the way that they are on and off the court. I mean, that's the sort of little things that it's difficult to coach.
Yeah, absolutely, and you'll find that those sorts of teams are the ones that win, you know, close matches, which is they did on the weekend, because they do go the extra yard for each other. It's not a selfish thing, you know. There's people going the extra mile, so, you know, I guess that's why they've got the wins.
The game started, or this round, I should say, started off back last Wednesday night with the AIS playing Canberra, and the Canberra Capitals pretty comfortable victors in that one. Then again on Friday night, the WNBL Radio team headed to the Dandenong Basketball Stadium for the third instalment in the Michelle Timms Cup this season, and the Bulleen Boomers, to the surprise of some, came away with a very comfortable victory. They won in the end by 10 points. Now, when I say comfortable, Cheryl, it was comfortable on the score sheet. I know it wasn't always like that during the game, but Liz Cambage, 23 points and 17 rebounds, was dominant. Alice Kunik played one of her best games. They had contributions from Rachel Jarry and also Sam Richards as well. Tom Marder described it as a season-defining win, and that really took me a bit by surprise. What about you?
Yeah, well, I think there's a long way to go. I mean, you know, as you know, the ladder, we'll have a look at it in a minute, and it's very close. So I'm not sure that there'd be season-defining wins quite yet, but, you know.
Maybe it was the way the team went about it, I suppose. He's been pushing them to really get, again, we come back to the word chemistry, and I suppose with them being a very young team, he wants them to play a bit more consistently through games rather than just in bursts, and I think that was perhaps the thing he was most happy about. The thing that did go in their favour, Kathleen McLeod only had 8 points on 2 of 14 shooting, pretty uncharacteristic for her.
Very, especially this season. I mean, she's been fantastic, so, you know, I guess Dandenong would have struggled to cope with that.
And some players fouling out as well. Now, in this game, Steph Cumming, Jenna O'Hay and Krista Phillips all fouled out for Dandenong. A bit later in the weekend, Bulleen had some foul troubles of their own, with Liz Cambage and Rachel Jarry fouling out. Seems to me that there's been a lot more fouls called. I don't know, in the games that you've seen, if the referees aren't allowing the physical play that we've seen in previous years.
Well, I think that happens at times, but as players, you've got to adjust. It's, you know, I think it's okay when, you know, when referees call it the same way all the way through the game, and then they can adjust, but maybe there's some, you know, changing of decision making.
And I suppose it's also different refereeing, different groups in different cities call the game in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
In Sydney on Saturday night, coming back off that great victory over the Logan Thunder, the Townsville Fire caused one of the upsets of the season. They came from 12 points down, 12 points down at quarter time to defeat the Sydney Uni Flames. Amy Denson's 34 points was not enough to help the Flames to victory. Shanavia Dowdell, as we've already mentioned, was a star for the Townsville Fire, and the visitors doing what very few teams have done, Cheryl, and they got that win on the road the second time around. Yeah,
I mean, they would have had some confidence from the night before, but certainly they shot the ball really well, and when you shoot the ball well, you put yourself back into a position. I do know with Sydney that Belinda Snell got injured in the second quarter, so once again Sydney had to adjust pretty quickly to having one of their stars out, so pretty difficult when you've got, you know, Eva out one week, Belinda out, so, you know, there's a lot of adjustments made.
You spoke to Karen Dalton, and the injury to Belinda Snell they don't think at this stage it's severe?
No, they took her out of the game to make sure that she wouldn't tear her calf, and it's just some sort of twinge in the calf, and she'll be right for the first game after Christmas.
Hopefully a bit of R&R and maybe some lying on the couch might see her back in action very, very happily and healthily soon. Now, the Bendigo Spirit had a fantastic victory over the Dandenong Rangers. Again, well, unlike Townsville, the Rangers weren't able to back up and score an upset win in the second row game of the weekend. The Spirit had contributions from Tess Madden, 28 points, and Kelly Wilson. We were talking before we started the record, and you said she can really shoot the ball, and 7 of 8 from threes, 25 points is evidence.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if you give her a sniff early and she hits a few, she just gets it on a string. So certainly that's a great game, and I'm sure Christy would be happy after challenging them to step up that, you know, everyone's stepped up and they've got a big win.
Well, Bernie Harrower made the comments after the game. He said it's probably our best win in the club's history, and with everything that's been going on around the club lately, he couldn't be more proud of his girls. And what he's referring to is the press that's been coming out and the comments that have been made by the management of the Bendigo Spirit about how they're having some financial troubles. How distracting? I mean, when you're a Bulleen, I think it's pretty well known that the Bulleen Boomers weren't spending a hell of a lot of money on players and administrators and officials and recruiting and all that sort of stuff. How difficult is it for the players and the people involved intimately in the club in those circumstances?
Look, I think it is difficult because we all leave, we have our heart and souls in our basketball and that sort of stuff. So it is difficult, but sometimes when things are difficult, you step up and maybe that's what the team's responding to, a little bit of negativity, and they're responding and getting a win.
Well, they certainly did, and they were sensational and really got their season back on track. The West Coast Waves were unable to defeat the Adelaide Lightning on Saturday either, and the Adelaide Lightning once again led by Susie Batkovic, once more a double-double. She looks certain to she's certainly on her way to All-Star 5 honours at the moment, and possibly an MVP award at the moment. I think she'd be a pretty short-priced favourite. And then in the final game for the weekend, the Canberra Capitals, Cheryl, scored perhaps the biggest upset of the weekend, defeating the Bulleen Boomers after their great win earlier in the weekend.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic win for Canberra. I mean, I guess they've kept their season alive and they can go away for Christmas and have a bit of a break and, hopefully come back and try and keep their season alive. So it's a fantastic win for them.
Mariana Tolo and Bridget Adossi were best for the Capitals. Tolo had 21 points and Adossi had 18. But I like this from Tom Maher. He said that we have young people trying to attain great heights. We definitely need to smell the roses, maybe watch the cricket and have a beer. So
I think he's gone on Christmas holidays.
Yeah, I think maybe he thought the Bulleen Boomers girls needed to just do that. I suppose at this time of year you do need to. It's a semi-professional league. They're not full-time athletes. Most of these girls have got work and study commitments as well as other things. It's important to have that downtime.
Absolutely. I think if you didn't give people a break, especially while their families are all enjoying the Christmas, you'd have a team that would come back after Christmas that's probably lethargic. So a little bit of a break. Make sure they keep on the court and do those sorts of things, but certainly enjoy the break.
Well, let's check out the ladder now, and the Adelaide Lightning are still out there on top. 13 matches, 11 wins and just the 2 losses. Reminder to you all that the clubs will play 22 games in the home and away round. The Bulleen Boomers in second, they just get the edge over Sydney. Townsville back up to 4th courtesy of their 2 wins, and Dandenong in 5th. But we can see that it's really congested right down there to the 8th spot with the Canberra Capitals now with 6 wins. And just one thing I find interesting is the imbalance in the draw. I mean, the Logan Thunder Cheryl played only 12 games, so they've got 10 to come in the second half of the year. Townsville have only got 7 to come, but they start the first week back after Christmas with a road double in Bulleen and then Adelaide, and then they play 5 games at home and plus a bye. It's a funny old draw.
It is a funny old draw, and such an advantage if you can finish off at home and have a couple of games leading into the finals. So I think Townsville will be really happy with their draw, and I'm sure there's people that have got, it seems every time we made the finals we had a double to Townsville the week before. So, certainly does help to be at home. Yeah,
it does. Now, as I say, they've got some really critical games. Those first 2 back after the Christmas break. Of course, we come back with WNBL action on Friday the 6th of January, and the Townsville Fire play the Bulleen Boomers. It's our ABC TV game. What are you expecting from that and also their game in Adelaide? It's going to be a brutal weekend.
I think it will be very tough. Once again, they'll have to throw everything at the first game, everything they possibly can. And, I think generally after Christmas there is a little bit of slugginess in the first weekend. So I think it'll be the team that looks after themselves the best over the Christmas break that can hit the ground running.
Yeah, how hard is it to get the players to come back and I guess that time away, as important as it is, as you just said, but you still need to come back and be ready to refocus and I guess you can try a few different things as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think keep it fun and get back, and you certainly need a few sessions. My theory is the first session back you're fantastic and the second session you're terrible, so you certainly need more than 2 sessions, and but I think most of the players will be looking after themselves and they'll be ready to go.
Other pivotal games in that first week back include Canberra and Sydney, and also Logan and Dandenong. Logan Thunder beat the Rangers in Melbourne back in round 2, but the Rangers this is again, it shapes as an important match. That game will be on WNBL Radio on the Saturday night, Saturday the 7th. The Thunder probably a little bit better at home, but the inconsistency and the fire from Dandenong, having lost those 2 games, that fire will be burning pretty strong the past couple of weeks.
Absolutely, they'll be trying to get that win, and as you say, Logan needs to find some consistency.
All right, right, well, I think that just about wraps us up for WNBL ITV for another week, and also for the first part of the season. And what's on for Christmas for you? Bit of time with the family?
Christmas time with the family. Santa will be coming and we'll just be having some fun.
Fantastic. Well, make sure you keep in touch with us over the Christmas break. You can stay in touch with our show and also the WNBL through Facebook and also Twitter. All the details on the bottom of the screen, and make sure you download the WNBL smartphone app as well. But until then, Cheryl, wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too.
And to everyone at home, thank you very much for your company on WNBL ITV. We're back in the new year.